the article is a little bit disturbing for us because it looks a little bit like a manipulation of our visit. It is certainly true that we obtained a deeper understanding of how Chinese law works and how it is interpreted by the court and the police. But it is also true that we consistently told our Chinese hosts in so many words that we disagree with their approach to CAGO, and we believe it's dangerous for religious liberty and doesn't correspond to the international conventional obligations China subscribed at the United Nations level and at the level of other international organizations. And also we cautioned repeatedly against translating anti-CAGO as anti-cult association and CAGO as cult. We believe it's a wrong translation because, again, the Chinese approach to CAGO is different even from, we don't use the word cult, but those who use the word cult have a different definition. While the main standard to identify a CAGO in China is a group believed to be against the government. Some are really against the government, some they believe they are against the government, but surely for those who use the word cult, the definition of cult in the West has never been a group which is against the government. While in China, at the end of the day, the main standard to define CAGO is a group the government believes it is against CCP. And that's completely different from the West. So we urge them, let's call yourself the anti-CAGO association, not the anti-cult association, because the concept is different. And of course, we also say that in the West, our understanding of religious liberties, that religions should be free to criticize the government or the ruling political party, which is not happening in China. So in the quote you read to me, there is a part which is true. It's true that we gained a better understanding of how the machine of CCP works against the CAGO. But there is a part which is not true, that we were happy about it. We were very unhappy about it. And we told the Chinese that this machinery is very dangerous for religious liberty. And that seems more like propaganda. And we should say after our trip to Henan, we don't know, because we were only allowed to visit 3 self-congregations and a very small remnant. Actually, we met 1 person of what was in the 19th century a flourishing Jewish life in Kaifeng. And then we visited some very official and even a little bit touristy Buddhist temple, including Shaolin. But we were not allowed to interview any house church members or any Catholic member of the so-called underground church, the non-official underground church, let alone the members of CAGO. So we had only exposure to the official religion in China. So the good, honest to God answer to your question is we don't know. We don't know more than we knew before, because we only saw the official expression of religion in China, but we didn't see any non-official, non-CCP controlled expression of religion in China. So about this second part of the religious life in China, we don't know more than we knew before. So we knew before from books, from articles, from witnesses who escaped from China and come to the West. And the visit to Henan didn't add anything to this knowledge. It added something perhaps to our knowledge of how the three self-church is organized, yes, but that only visiting the three self-church doesn't tell us anything about the house churches or the Xiejiao. Well, surely we cannot in any way say that China is a country with religious liberty, in the sense the term religious liberty, the notion of religious liberty is defined in the International Convention, which includes the freedom to designate the leaders and the freedom of mission and proselytization. Now, this does not exist in China because some religious organizations are allowed, but their missionary activities are restricted, and the leaders are designated by CCP, not by the religious bodies themselves. So it is true that there are sometimes negotiations, for instance, with the Catholic Church, but they are far away from being concluded, and also most international observers believe that with the coming into force of new regulations in February 2018 and the so-called process of sinicization of religion, situation in 2018 will actually not become better but become worse. So my understanding of the situation in China is there are three layers. The first layer includes the CCP approved organizations like the Three Self-Church or the Association of Patriotic Catholic Churches, and these can worship freely, but their leaders are designated by CCP, and of course they cannot criticize any CCP policy. Then the second layer is the non-approved churches and religions, and that includes the house churches, and they exist in China, but in a very precarious situation. And that includes also the underground Catholic Church, because they worship, sometimes they believe the police is more or less tolerating them, but then the police comes and arrests somebody, and somebody else disappears and never reappears. So they live in a very difficult and precarious existence. And then the third layer is the Xiejiao, and for groups in the list of the Xiejiao, not only there is no religious liberty, but there is a real persecution. CCP promise they will be eradicated like tumors, and they are more or less fair game. You can be arrested, most probably you can be tortured, you can be killed, because the Xiejiao, as the CCP says, from their point of view, are a tumor. And what do you do to a tumor? You don't discuss with the tumor or treat the tumor kindly, but you try to completely destroy and eradicate it. And another word I believe the Western media should try to understand better is sinicization. I know it's a difficult word, but on the face of it, and there is a traditional meaning of sinicization, which goes back before the CCP, it means making something really Chinese. But that's not the meaning of sinicization in the discourse of CCP. If we read the document of CCP, Sinicization means cooperating with CCP, being firmly under the leadership of the CCP, and accepting the aims, the goals, the program for Chinese society of CCP. CCP gives the words a new meaning. And the new meaning of Sinicization is being fully integrated in the system of CCP. If you are not integrated in the system of CCP, you are not Sinicized. You can be 100% Chinese, no foreign leaders, all leaders are Chinese, doesn't matter. You need to be integrated in CCP system, or otherwise you are declared not Sinicized. Well, it's interesting to note that after the Hong Kong conference, the CCP part of the conference wanted to prepare a statement for all of us to sign, and we say no, because we agreed that we disagree. And so we cannot prepare a common statement because we have, on all the issues, including the Church of Almighty God, we have different opinions on what statement. So there was really no statement because the Western scholars refused to sign a final statement of the conference. But of course, their media can publish reports, which they are free to do. But these reports do not reflect the common opinion of the participant in these conferences, mostly because there is no common opinion. These are conferences where two different opinions were presented, one from the Western scholars and one from CCP, and also, and there is a nuance here, from some Christian leaders, which do not fully share the position of CCP, but I will say they are perhaps closer to CCP than they are to Western scholars. So these conferences did not come to any shared or common conclusion. I don't believe they were a complete waste of time, surely not for us, because we gained a better understanding of how the CCP system to fight the CAGR works. But as I mentioned earlier, we don't agree with this system. And so any report published by CCP sources reflects the opinion of one part of the conference participants, but by no means of the entirety of the conference participants.